Aphra Behn is presumed to be the first English woman who earned her living as a writer. She became a dominant writer during the Restoration period in England. She was poet, playwright and novelist. And we should remember that Aphra Behn became the inspiration for later women who took up a literary career. One of her famous plays is The Rover, or The Banished Cavaliers. Her novella, Oroonoko, was published approximately 20 years later of its composition. The book is written in first-person narration. That means the author herself is present throughout the story, and she is explaining the story on her own. The novella is based on Behn's own experience of what she witnessed in a Dutch colony named Suriname, in South America, although it is not evident that Behn really visited Suriname. Now let's just continue with the narrative. So the story begins in a place named Coromantien, which is now near Ghana. It was a slave trading post where the Dutch and English slave traders often came for their purpose. The local king of Coromantien was very old with almost no heir. All of his sons died in battles. Now he has one heir left, which is his grandson. And this is the hero of our story named Oroonoko. Oroonoko, when he was 17, was sent to one of the most expert soldiers of their clan. But one day, unfortunately, while fighting side by side, the old general was killed by an arrow in his eye. So, the old general gave up his life in saving Oroonoko. As soon as the old general died, Oroonoko was made the new general. As the story goes on, we see that Oroonoko falls in love with a girl named Amoinda, who happens to be the only daughter of the old general, who died saving Oroonoko. All the male members of the clan were overwhelmed with the beauty of Amoinda. And at that moment, Amoinda caught the attention of the king of the clan, who is the grandfather of Oroonoko. He wanted to make Amoinda his mistress. Besides knowing that there was something going on between Oroonoko and Amoinda, the old king got on with his own tricks. Amoinda was kept in the place where the other mistresses of the king lived. But beside all the obstacles, Oroonoko made a trick to meet with his beloved. He made his plan with his friend Abone, and the elderly mistress of the king whose name was Onahal. But, after the old king came to know about the matter, he tried to punish both the lovers. The punishment turned out to be more intense than it could be. He didn't sentence them to death, rather, he planned to sell her as a slave. This is more painful than death. Oroonoko was told that the king has sentenced Amoinda to death. This news mentally broke him, and he almost gave up his will to live and fight. However, when they were about to lose a battle, Oroonoko arose like Achilles, and led his tribe to victory. An English sea captain used to visit Coromantien, and Oroonoko received him like a royal guest. But one day, the captain double-crossed Oroonoko, and kidnapped him with his other attendants. He brought Oroonoko to Suriname and sold him to a kind-hearted slave owner, named Trefree. Trefree used to call Oroonoko Caesar. And Oroonoko's life changed when he met Amoinda, in Suriname. This is how fate works. Amoinda was sold, but she got to meet with Oroonoko again. Just like Oroonoko was known as Caesar, Amoinda was known there as Clement. However, Trefree reunites these two lovers, and soon they conceive a child. As their child was growing up inside Amoinda, Oroonoko became increasingly anxious about his child's future, because he didn't want his child to be a slave. He knew that colonial masters like Governor Byam will not let him get free. Oroonoko made a plan himself to flee from there with Amoinda and some of his attendants. But ruins followed them and they got caught by the slave owners. However, they fought bravely. Even Amoinda shot a poisoned arrow at the shoulder of Governor Byam, and he was heavily injured. Governor Byam, out of his cunningness, made a plan to convince Oroonoko, and took the help of Trefree, who did not even get a hint about Byam's intention. However, he didn't fail to convince Oroonoko to surrender, and promised to fulfill all their claims. This was all his false commitment. He isolated Amoinda and whipped Oroonoko. Now, Oroonoko became fully conscious about Byam's treachery. So he vowed revenge. He, with the permission of Amoinda, killed her with their child, to save them both from the upcoming suffering. But unfortunately, Oroonoko failed to avenge his wife and child. When he was mourning beside his wife, the colonial masters came to find him. They found him almost dying. As Oroonoko has taken the lives of 2 slaves, now he is to get the punishment. Executioners came, and killed Oroonoko by cutting off his body parts, one by one, and he remained silent, consuming tobacco, and thus, he embraced death. In this way the novella ends exploring the themes of love, betrayal, colonialism, dehumanization, slavery. The novella is a representation of how the colonial masters went to different continents, and made the residents slaves. In this way they made these people the so-called other. If this video helped you in any ways, consider subscribing the channel. Thanks for watching.